guys, and welcome back to the Unshattered Adoptee podcast. And I'm your host, Kayla Monique, aka the Unshattered Adoptee. And this episode is going to be part two to my last episode, which was titled Understanding Foster Care Trauma. So, in this part two video, we're going to talk about understanding behaviors of children in foster care, which basically coincides with the first video. So, you have the trauma that a child experiences, and because of that trauma, a child may exhibit certain behaviors. So, again, this episode is going to be about understanding foster care behavior. And this is a continuation, part two, to my last video. So, if you are an adoptive parent, foster parent, or if you're a parent through kinship, this video is going to be for you. Okay? So, go ahead, stick around, and let's jump right into the video. Alrighty. So, before I dive into the different behaviors that you may experience with a child who has been in foster care and experienced trauma, the first thing that I want to say is one of the important reasons why I wanted to share this video is because most people know, but if you don't know, older children who are in placement or waiting to be placed are usually the most difficult to place, and it's usually because they do have experiences with trauma and they are exhibiting certain behaviors because of that trauma. So because of that, a lot of parents, whether they're adoptive parents, foster parents, or even if they are parents through kinship, sometimes they're a little hesitant to take in these children because they don't really understand what's going on with the child. And they also sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they prejudge the child and assume that it's going to be one way, when if you understand what that child is going through and you have the correct tools, things could be a little bit different. Is it going to be 100% easy and smooth sailing? No. But I feel like if you have the tools necessary and you present in a situation with a different pair of eyes, sometimes the outcome could be better than you think. Okay. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get into the different behaviors that a child in foster care who has experienced trauma may exhibit. All right. So the number one behavior that a child in foster care experiencing trauma may exhibit is overreaction. Okay. So that could look like, hey, maybe you just tell the child to take a shower. You give them a simple task to do, something that you don't feel like is a big deal to you, but it turns into a big argument. It turns into a back and forth between you and that child. So that's what overreaction looks like. Okay. So that's the first behavior that I'm going to talk about today, and it's overreaction. The second behavior that I want to move on to is going to be impulsive outbursts. So, what that can look like, and again, I am someone who does currently work with youth who are waiting to be placed. So, these different behaviors that I'm sharing with you are the exact same behaviors that I have to deal with or experience on a day to day with some of my clients. So, I'm not just saying this just to say it, I'm actually putting myself in your shoes. And I'm someone who's speaking from experience. So, the next behavior, again, is going to be an impulsive outburst. And what that's going to look like is, say, the day could be going perfectly normal. Nothing's really going on, but for whatever reason, a child may be triggered by something and they're having an outburst. Now, outburst could look like yelling, shouting. It could even be them throwing things. It could be them wanting to hurt you verbally with their words. And sometimes you don't know what that trigger is right away. I have experience with a child, let's see, let me give a good example. So, my apologies. So a good example that I can give is basically a client of mine having an outburst and kind of causing a scene because they didn't want to go to a particular place that day. Okay, without getting into too much details or whatever. So the client didn't want to go to this particular place this day. It was supposed to be a place that was supposed to be for fun, for an activity for the kids to get out, but this particular client was just, they didn't want it. So it resulted in this client having outbursts, yelling, you know what I mean? attacking the staff, different things like that. Or maybe they may go off on another client that may be around in the vicinity in that time and space that they are having that outburst. So then they want to attack them. And a lot of times it's just something personally that they're dealing with. Usually the best way to handle that situation is once the client has or the child has been able to calm down after that outburst, sit with that child. Try to talk to them about what happened so that you guys can get to the bottom of what the trigger may have been. So moving forward, you can try to notice maybe some physical signs that the child may have so you can start to intervene and try to do something to calm that child down before it escalates further. Okay. So that was the second behavior, which is impulsive outbursts. All right. So the third behavior that I'm going to talk about is trauma reenactment. Okay. What this look like, excuse me, what this looks like is a child could have been physically abused, meaning they were hit. They may have been roughed up a little bit in the household that they were in. So instead of them thinking to themselves and then registering to their brains, hey, I don't like how this made me feel, so I don't want to do this to somebody else. Their response may be that that's how they react when they're upset. They may take it out on another sibling and become physically aggressive, or they may become physically aggressive with you because that's what they've seen and that's what's been done to them. So their first instinct is to go to that. Now, again, this is another behavior. With understanding this behavior and with the proper tools and the proper help from either therapy or someone who's a little bit more experienced, you can learn how to handle this and be able to decrease how often the child is reenacting this trauma behavior that they experience in, either their natural environment with their biological family or in different other environments like different other foster homes. Okay. Alrighty. So the fourth one that I want to talk about, which I know even if you're not an adoptive foster parent or a parent through kinship, you've definitely experienced this with a child before, and that is going to be defiance. And defiance is basically